So pretty much all week, I have had the phrase, "This is pandering like hell," just fucking lodged in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
This was your first exposure, right? You hadn't seen this video nor any references to this video
God,
before.
no.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you like Dan Olson, so
I don't know. You had some folding ideas about you.
Yeah. Every single time I've been annoying everybody in my orbit, basically, by like if somebody says something and it genuinely does not. I'm going to go back to our Slack and I'm going to read some of the messages we've had going back and forth recently.
Please.
Yeah.
Letting us into our cabinet.
Just for a little bit of context here.
The Twawapu cabinet.
Just for a little bit of context here.
Yeah.
We all
Mini sweaters.
went to a show last night together.
Yeah.
Yes, we
because
did.
AJ wrote a play for it and I directed a play for it.
I was there.
You were there to support. You were there to support.
I was
If
the
you
last
please, I am also
collaborator.
here.
I was the audience. I was the most important part of it.
And
Yes.
after it, I got this message from AJ saying, well, I've watched that Dan Olson video, and let me tell you, it is pandering like hell.
Yeah.
Brian said it does do that at the end. AJ said,
does do that.
I've honestly now gotten to the point where I have no idea what pandering means. Brian then wanted to know after the show, how did the vote go?
Yeah.
To which I said,
The vote on the show that you guys did, because there's a
Exactly.
voting
it
component.
was a voting
to it,
component. It was
which
a
I
competition.
did as the final collaborator of the audience
That's
of
right.
that show.
The most important.
And I replied, I said that the vote, it was pandering like hell.
So many possible worlds, but we got this one. So many possible worlds, but we got this one.
Welcome to the Worst of All Possible Worlds, the first and only podcast that remembers it so you don't have to. I'm the worst of all possible Bryans.
I'm the worst of all possible AJs.
You motherfucker. I'm the worst of all possible Joshes. We are back.
Isn't that a good slogan? I think we should start doing,
Yeah, I
instead of
think-
doing our joke, we should do
Yeah.
that real thing every single episode.
Every single time.
And we are
also,
the first.
We also got to end with it, though. That's the thing.
Okay, yeah.
It's a good slogan.
From a very good content creator. Can you imagine if that was the end of the episode? What's our deal on Doug
I
Walker?
think we could really expand our brand a little bit here, too. Like, we could start another podcast, but it's three women talking about pop culture, and we could call it the worst of all possible chicks.
Yes.
Could be big.
That,
Yeah.
I feel like that would really push the discourse forward.
Yeah.
I have inflicted upon these two this week
Yes.
a topic that was very near and dear to a young AJ's heart. That is...
You weren't that young.
Yeah, how young we
Okay,
talking?
shut
You're
the
like
fuck
an
up.
adult.
Shut the fuck up. I was 17.
Yeah.
Shut up. So a lot of times on this show, if you are a frequent listener, we do things like our ongoing series called Wits Endless Summer, where both Brian and Josh make me endure stuff from their childhood that they are still working through the trauma of.
Yeah.
And
I'm not traumatized by it, but yes.
yes, that Josh is traumatized by
Yes.
and has only emboldened Brian. And this week, I decided to turn about fair play and turn the tables on these two gents because we are talking about a web series that has been running since 2007. It is still running to this day, and that is Doug and Rob Walker's Nostalgia Critic.
Yeah, so AJ, I have some questions just right up front. If
Sure,
that's okay for
hit
you.
me.
So you said you started watching this when you were like 17.
I was in on the ground floor of the Nostalgia
Yeah.
Critic. Yes,
So
in
how
2007.
did that happen? How did you get in on that ground floor?
I think I must
You were
have
an
just
early
been-
investor. You got the meme coin.
I got
you
the
got
you were the
rugged.
smart money.
I got the hat. They gave me a free hat. No, I believe just a friend of mine must have recommended it to me, must have seen, I'm pretty sure, the Batman and Robin video and then passed that my way. And then I went back and rewatched everything up until that point. But yeah, I remember watching these pretty much every week as they came out.
Okay.
As we went along.
That was like me and Yahtzee.
Yes,
Oh.
yes. That was probably it. It was probably
Yeah.
my introduction to Yahtzee, and then he was sort of operating in the same angry...
Yahtzee-
There's a lot of different guys with hats.
Yes.
Yahtzee, that's zero
Some llamas.
punctuation,
Zero
right?
punctuation,
The escapist,
aka fully ramblomatic, because he no longer has the trademark for zero punctuation.
Okay,
Yeah,
interesting.
escapist. He's sold to escapists, much like Doug Walker does not own the Nostalgia Critic, and we'll get into that a little bit as we go along. But yeah, what about you two? Had you ever been christened by Santa Christ, or is this was all entirely new
Christened
to
by
you.
Santa Christ. Is this a thing you just
that a
came up with,
reference?
or is this referencing a Doug Walker
That is
joke?
referencing a Doug Walker bit.
Fuck,
How,
dude.
how do you expect me to know that?
No, it's not. This isn't for you.
I can do a reference to a Doug Walker bit. Here we go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kill myself.
And then I just have a gun.
Pew, 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 pew. It is really, there are times, listeners, when it is so sad that we are not a video podcast because Brian has just flailed about. It was a perfect impression.
Did every face from the Numa Numa video.
Yeah.
Which is
At
now
once.
20 years old.
Well, this is
No,
the thing,
no.
right? Is I feel like this is a deep dive into a very specific time in internet media. Because,
Yes.
we talk about all sorts of pop culture on this show, as
sure
you know,
do.
if you've been listening for a bit, everything from a fucking propaganda documentary about World War II
Yes.
to, Skibbity Toilet. We try to cover the full range.
And to answer your question, AJ, I did watch some Nostalgia Critic videos.
Okay.
Yes.
When I was in college.
Oh.
And yeah, it was like, this is part of that early era. It's not the original era of internet videos, right? That goes
Right,
all the way
no.
back to Usenet when people would share like a little tiny file over like emails
a
and
real
shit.
media file. They had to buffer for 10 years. Yeah.
And
a little man on a bicycle had to put it in the back of his car and ride it over the
Well, there was
electronic interstate.
There was that old David Sedaris essay from, I think, Me Talk Pretty, that he talks about like, oh yeah, I'm just not a very modern person. I don't really know how to use computers. But one day my sister Amy showed me an email and it had a file in it of a man just getting his balls absolutely stomped on.
Hell yeah.
And then I understood what the appeal of the internet was.
That's the internet, yeah.
And
Colbert probably showed her that first.
probably is Colbert.
Yeah.
And then there was stuff like Numa Numa, which came from, people might not realize this, it wasn't on YouTube. It's
Right.
before YouTube.
YouTube
It was
didn't
on
exist yet.
Newgrounds, which
Right.
was the
That's right,
original portal. It was the original like user upload to this one big platform, Web 2.0. That was the fetus of it. And I'm sure there are a lot of little games on there about killing fetuses or something.
Did you ever
but, like,
upload anything to Newgrounds, Brian?
No, I never got into that stuff because
I didn't either. I was just curious.
They stopped allowing live action video, right? They were like, oh, we're going to focus on flash based things. Later on, audio and art and stuff like that. And it's still going strong. It's still out there. There's still probably a lot of people making interesting things on it. I haven't been on Newgrounds myself in a very long time, but the Nostalgia Critic was an early YouTube thing specifically. It started on YouTube. It didn't make its money on YouTube initially.
And soon left YouTube pretty close.
That's
after
where I
inception,
watched
yeah.
it. They always have the little like text of the website that they're on.
Yes.
But the videos that I saw, I didn't go to the website. I was just watching straight on YouTube. And I couldn't tell you why I started watching them. There was, it's this weird period where it was like one summer. And it was a summer I was doing some summer stock theater in Whitehall, Michigan. Yeah, for whatever reason, something popped up on my little, recommendation algorithm.
Yeah.
And I think mostly what I watched was a bunch of his reviews of Disney movies,
Yes.
which has become a staple of his channel. He still does like these big Disney reviews, not as a
Disney
Nostalgia
Sembers,
Critic, but
yes. Yeah.
And so I think I haven't gone back and watched any of those, but I do remember like one I did revisit this time around was his Jingle All the Way review, which for some reason that had stuck in my head at the time.
Yeah.
And so for like a few weeks there, that was like something I'd do like during lunch. I'd watch a little Nostalgia Critic review, and then I just never went back to it.
Okay.
Couldn't tell you I didn't hate it. I guess I just didn't love it. I don't know.
I will say for my part, it was interesting, again, being reminded of the old days of portals and Newgrounds and stuff like that, because if you are a younger listener, you probably like weren't really around for like the very early days of new media, Web 2.0, because nowadays everything is on YouTube, or maybe it's on TikTok. But back when this was getting started,
Or if you're artsy, Vimeo.
that's right.
Not really anymore, but
really.
it was the case.
It's
Yeah.
a wasteland.
But back when Nostalgia Critic was getting up and running, there were video channels all over the place.
Yeah.
It wasn't as if YouTube was the one source. In fact, YouTube was not even a part of Google for a really long time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
they
was
held out for a
YouTube, there was Funny or Die, there was College Humor, there was
Fark.
There was,
And y'all remember Fart?
There was E-Bombs World. There was another one that was like, oh, this is the platform for men or something like, that same way that we did that stuff. I can't remember the name of it right now, but that was the one that licensed fuck, I can't believe you've done this.
Yeah.
Because I remember reading an article
yeah.
from the guy who made that video talking about like, technically, I don't have ownership of it, but the company doesn't exist anymore, so maybe I should be able to get money from it.
It would
but
revert
all
back
my money
to him,
went to them, and they paid me like a flat fee back in the day.
But I guess the point that I'm trying to make here is that at this point in time, new media was such terra nova that everything was an experiment at this point.
Yeah.
Right.
What will people actually sit down, watch, and like consume on an ongoing basis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Early days of YouTube was, of course, uploading old stuff. That's still there. People putting on old TV shows and things that you otherwise can't really find. But also, like, I'm a short filmmaker. I'm going to make a 5-minute short film.
Right.
Which is an extension of like what people did on Newgrounds. Here's my original animation from Ego Raptor.
It wasn't really a place for like regularly scheduled, fully produced episodic content.
No.
Right.
And if you did want that kind of thing, it would more often be stuff like Flash animations. Like I spent a lot of
Stick
time.
fights.
That's right. That's right. I spent a lot of time back in the day on albino black sheep. That was my stomping grounds.
Oh, God.
But I never really got into stuff like the Nostalgia Critic because it just didn't appeal to me. I thought it kind of sucked.
Yeah.
And I was right, for the record.
You wanted to watch narrative stuff. You didn't want to watch somebody reacting to media.
Right,
And it
right.
turns out that was the future.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's how we make our living, it turns out.
It is.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah, you can't talk about Doug Walker as every other YouTuber has figured out without starting to get very weirdly self-reflective.
Exactly.
Yep, and we'll certainly get into that in this episode because the deepest, darkest secret in the corner of my heart is that I am the Waluigi to Doug Walker's Luigi.
Well, at least you're
think-
not the Wario, because that ended weirdly.
Oh no! When I watched the Nostalgia Critic, the first thing I thought was I could do this.
Okay.
And the reason I watched him was that I thought he was funny. I genuinely thought he was funny, but also I was just like, he is doing things, but I could probably do it better than him.
Yeah. Did you ever try?
It's called Quest 64.
No.
Day of Grief and
No, like
Lyrics.
when
Did
you were
you
a
try
kid.
back then?
Yeah.
No, because I
what
couldn't
we
figure
did
out
was
editing.
a very different thing.
That's true.
It was after years of maturity of the medium and of ourselves and of the technology that you can use to edit something.
Yes,
far more sophisticated than the 2008 style.
I could not figure out the editing software. Otherwise, I would. And so
And then
what
you learned it very, very fast in 2020.
What else was happening in 2020? But I
You were
wanted,
supposed to vote.
but he was very popular back in the day, right? The Nostalgia Critic like took up a lot of the air in the conversation when it came to like reacting to things online. Angry Video Game Nerd, I would argue, is probably more popular back then and remains maybe not remains as popular now, but like Angry Video Game Nerd was like at the top of the pyramid, right?
Yeah, what if a guy played video games, but he was angry about it?
Oh my God.
I used to watch, this is really dating me. Someone should at least, but I used to watch a series that I can't remember the name of, but it was done by 1UP. Right, which was
I remember 1UP.
Electronic Gaming Monthly. They're online. That was back when you'd have a brand that would have a different name.
Yeah,
on the
EGM
internet.
was the magazine, then 1up.com was the website.
And 1UP did a series with Sean Baby and two other guys.
No way.
And they would react to bad video games. They'd play like Shaq Fu, and they'd do it like Mystery Science Theater 3000 style. Instead of the silhouettes, you'd see them as a reflection on the screen.
Okay.
It's very high-minded.
Yeah.
And they would get mad at it. That was the thing I remember seeing from way, way, way back then on oneup.com.
Wow.
As like, and I watched every single one of those.
Wow. Yeah, and I personally, I have never liked the Angry Video Game Nerd. I think
You were more of a JonTron guy. And then,
And then
he said
everything
some things
happened.
and you became even
Even
more
more
of a
fan.
guy.
Yeah, no, the minute he was like, you know what, Mexico is trying to retake California, I was like, yeah, no, this is my guy. I mean,
San Diego must be protected.
What an insane thing to think. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That guy's a piece of shit. I saw him
No,
once.
he's normal, I think.
I once saw him grab a bartender by the vest in a bar in Harlem and scream, "Debate me, bro."
Straight up?
Straight up. Just a piece of shit.
New
Anyway,
York, concrete
I'm
jungle
gonna-
where dreams were made
I mean,
of.
it's slander for that because he's not going to remember because he was blackout. But anyway, so I wanted to find other contemporary reviews at the time, but unfortunately, a lot of that stuff was on forums and was lost to time. We tried
Tears
to
in
look
the
it up,
rain, yeah.
and if Josh Borman can't find it, it probably isn't on the internet.
I didn't look that hard.
But still, it's hard to find. But I did manage to find one piece of contemporary criticism that was written, I think, in 2008 or 2009, and I
Okay.
thought we could read it. It's at the end of the outline here, and it is a little long, but I would hope that you would all indulge me in this. Brian, would you like to read the first screenshot there? And Josh, if you would like to read the second.
Certainly.
There is a black hole at the center of the interverse. Like the Whedonverse, only less canceled. Where only the brave dare go. Wait, this is from 2000s.
Yes.
So when he's saying canceled, he means because of the fact that Joss Whedon shows are canceled frequently.
Yes.
Not because Joss Whedon is canceled.
That is a very important point of context.
Yeah,
But
so
also,
it's a
weirdly
different-
prophetic
That's a
is what I'm
different
gonna say.
kind of joke. Okay, I'm going to start over again because that's really funny.
Yeah, please.
There is a black hole at the center of the interverse, like the Whedonverse, only less canceled, where only the brave dare go.
Whoa.
I mean
boldly
this
flee.
in the best way possible. Black holes get a bad rap for, instantly killing you, but they also lead to alternate worlds of amazing clarity and wonder, after first killing you. Ahem.
Oh, this is so fucking Reddit. This is so
This
Reddit.
is
It
before
hurts.
Reddit.
I know.
This is pre-Reddit.
forum. This
Yeah.
is forum.
This is forum, baby.
This is what all nerd humor was, basically from the point Ain't It Cool News was founded.
Mm-hmm.
This particular black hole leads to the magically twisted but amazingly satisfying mind of Doug Walker,
What does that
who
mean?
is, in my opinion, the Roger Ebert of our generation.
Oh my God.
Whoa! Now,
The thing about his mind is that it's not just satisfying, it's amazingly
It's
satisfying.
amazingly satisfying.
now,
Yeah.
I am one of those bizarre people who actually check the New York Times daily for new reviews of movies. That's not where Ebert writes. He's
sure isn't.
famously a Chicago
The
reviewer.
Tribune, right? Or was it the Sun Times?
It's the Sun Times. The
for
fucking Sun.
new reviews of movies, television, and theater. Mostly because my girlfriend is in London, and it's either that or drink copious amounts of Fanta.
What?
I don't know what that means. Either I have girlfriend or I have so much Fanta.
That was the dynamic, yeah.
And while those reviews are intellectually stimulating and all, I have not once seen A.O. Scott summon Chuck Norris from the ether to smite down all those non-believers and go party with Mako in heaven, because Mako had just died, I guess. The fucking Chuck Norris thing.
AJ,
Yeah.
where did you find this?
No. Well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you at the
And,
end.
Okay.
And the fucking, remember when we were talking about the Blair Witch parodies and how there was like the Mr. T parody universe?
Yeah.
In the 90s, it was all on the internet. It was all Mr. T jokes, and then it became Chuck
In the
Norris jokes.
2000s, yeah.
Chuck Norris
Oh
and
my
Bacon. Like, that was like the big things. Yeah.
Now that is good reviewing.
Now this is pod racing.
Is it? Anyway,
one
continue.
of the many things I admire about Mr. Walker
Ooh, many things.
and why he just barely edges out Hop on this list.
what is Hop?
Hop?
I looked it up. It's Hey Ash, what you playing?
Oh, okay.
What is that?
So that was Ashley Birch and Anthony Birch's web series that they did way back in the
The
day.
voice actor?
Yes. They did a web series back in the day. That's how they got into sort of into the mainstream was through this little web show that
Was
they
that
did with their
before
dad.
they did voice acting then? or-
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Huh.
And then Anthony Birch has a video in that where he talks about writing Borderlands 2 that is deeply dark.
Okay. Okay, so that barely edges out Hop.
This was like a top 5 list of like the top 5 web series. That's where I was able to find
So this post was originally like 10 times longer, and we cut it down for length.
Yes, I sure did.
Okay, great.
Oh boy, did I ever, Josh.
So this edges out Hop. The way that it does so is the way that he manages to handle the long form web review, because these are up to 20 minutes. Where Hop is amazing for its brevity.
Take a note.
The Nostalgia Critic is brilliant for its sheer epicness. Each episode averages about 20 to 25 minutes.
Now, it actually is maybe at this point worth noting that on YouTube at this point, unless you had like special access, you could not upload anything longer than 15 minutes.
This was or 10 minutes, actually.
Was it 10?
So this was a grandfathered in thing. So the very first like year and a half of YouTube.
Right, but at this point they're on Blip. This is on Blip TV at this point.
Oh, so none of the 20-minute ones are on YouTube.
I don't think so until they're re-uploaded till later.
Okay, because I didn't remember them being that long.
But either way, it's worth noting with this sort of quote-unquote long-form format.
Yeah, in the very earliest days of YouTube, you could sign up for different kinds of accounts. There was no charge associated with this. So like one was the director account or the actor account. And depending on those, there were different lengths that you could upload to, up to, I think, 20 minutes at the most.
Yeah.
And then they changed it so it was 10 minutes across the board, except for people with those old accounts. And then, they opened the gates of hell later on. So, granted, to cover an hour and a half worth of movie... Wait, okay. Granted, this is weirdly written. Granted, to cover an hour and a half worth of movie, this seems like a reasonable proposition. But most of that 20 to 25 minute runtime is spent on The Critic, capital C. Segments which are fully scripted, and one of these are made a week. In addition to the exhaustive editing process.
These are made.
Yeah,
they sure
sorry.
are.
In addition to the exhaustive editing process, which I know far too much about exhaustive editing processes.
This writer doesn't.
As well as the 4 other shows Mr. Walker stars in personally. So, this sentence has just gone out the window. The fact that the shows are even funny seems like a minor miracle.
Oh, not a major miracle, though.
No.
The fact that they are as gut-bustingly hilarious as they are seems absolutely impossible. But, as is often the case with Mr. Walker, the impossible seems
Wait a minute.
completely effortless.
Hold on. Just getting a really weird feeling about who might have written this.
Yeah.
And that brings me to another aspect that personally draws me to the work done on thatguywiththeglasses.com, namely that the main commodity being sold is that of nostalgia, be it Brad Jones doing his cinema snob routine or Spoonie being Spoonie.
Oh, that's Spoonie.
Yeah, nothing wrong with either of those two men.
The members,
I'll take your word for it.
I'm literally not going to look into it. The members of Channel Awesome, to which they are all contributing members, tap into that very primal element that seems to appeal most to my generation. That idea of nostalgia literally consuming our lives. The reason for his popularity, apart from being a great screen presence, I think I know who wrote this, is the fact that the Nostalgia Critic re-examines everything that supposedly defined our childhoods and shows us that it wasn't the television or the movies or even the commercials that made us who we are, but it's ultimately us that made television, movies, and commercials what they were. What? And there's something comforting in the fact, and there's no one I would rather see tear down my childhood institutions than the caring hands of the Nostalgia Critic and his merry band of mischief makers.
Ooh.
Because when they are torn down, what we are left with is nothing but ourselves. There's something truly revolutionary in that.
Oh.
The best. Quest for Camelot made me laugh so hard I literally couldn't breathe. I'm also partial to Theodore Rex, which I've never actually seen, but the comedy shines through nevertheless. Seriously, you won't be able to stop after those, so just enjoy the ride. The worst. Some of the reviewers on the website aren't as polished as the Nostalgia Critic, but I won't name names. I leave it to you to figure it out for yourself. The link, thatguywiththeglasses.com.
So, Josh, when did you figure out it was me?
Wait, this was you?
This was my review of the Nostalgia Critic.
I was...
You didn't? Who were you thinking it was?
Who did you think it was?
I was thinking it was Doug's brother.
No.
Oh, AJ.
That's me.
Oh,
Anthony.
no.
Yeah.
You've never seen a Joss Whedon show?
I have. I saw Firefly and Dollhouse. I haven't seen...
Oh.
I have not seen
We've never
Buffy.
talked about this.
No, we haven't.
You've never discussed this with me.
I'm sorry.
I'm hurt.
Oh, well, okay, yeah. So what did you guess, Brian?
I didn't get. Well, Josh just said, "Oh, I think I know who wrote this," and then when he said that, I was like, "Oh God, is it AJ?"
Yeah, it was
but
me.
Josh didn't realize it was.
I went in a completely different direction.
Yeah.
I thought that this was somebody connected to Channel Awesome. Maybe even Doug himself.
I was thinking if this isn't AJ by the end, it must be someone who is currently like in media who we like.
Yes.
Which I guess is true.
That would be very mean.
Yeah.
Frankly, can you imagine?
AJ, what did you write this for? Like a class?
My Facebook.
Your
Notes app.
Facebook. That's right. Okay.
Yep. This wasn't a Reddit post. This was a Facebook post of my top 5 favorite web series of all time.
Getting on my computer now.
You did a good little
search.
deflection where you were like, "Oh, I looked it up, and Hop actually is referencing this thing."
Yeah, you like that? You like that, did you?
Well,
Not particularly, no.
I like. Give him. He's worked so hard today.
Look at this outline I made for you.
AJ, I have so many notes about this.
You became much better with sentences.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And how they work.
Yeah.
Tenses. That's that NY. Here's the worst part. I was a junior in college.
That's okay.
I was getting very good grades at NYU.
Yeah.
This isn't an indictment of the whole system.
really is.
To be
Yeah.
fair, I was so depressed. I was in Ireland studying abroad.
Okay.
I had nothing else to watch.
Oh,
because
yeah,
you
which
couldn't watch
broad?
For God's sake. You couldn't watch Netflix overseas at the time. So all I had to watch was Nostalgia Critic. That guy with the glasses was not limited to
Right.
America. Right? So I mostly just watched That Guy with the Glasses my whole time over there.
So that guy with the glasses.com, which
Yes.
shows up in the bot because like the earliest monetization was like a banner ad for Zwinky would show up like at the beginning of your video.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't interrupt it. It wouldn't do anything like that. And I guess there might have been some people doing like a sponsorship where they'd stop their video. I can't remember anything that old doing it.
No.
So what Doug Walker did was put the name of the website just on the screen.
Yeah, permanent watermark.
And so
Yeah.
you'd be like, okay, let's go to That Guy with the Glasses. So I guess then it would monetize its banner ads on that website.
It would, and go
'Cause
and
that's
any
the
sort of
old-
the AdSense.
That's the
yeah.
old like Flash model. Was like you'd make a Flash game, you'd host it on your site, and then
Right.
those banner ads would get you money. But then anyone could just grab your Flash game and throw it on their
Right.
website,
Which they
later.
did.
Yeah,
And I will say that I'm not 100% sure it was Doug Walker's choice to put That Guy with the Glasses on every video. I think that was actually more a call from the higher ups at Channel Awesome. And I
Yeah.
think this is as good a time as any to like sort of transfer into the history of all
Yes.
this and what the Nostalgia Critic is and where it came from.
You know, based on
to
that
begin with.
review,
Yeah.
I think I'm actually rethinking my entire opinion on Doug
Really?
Walker.
Oh, wow.
I think he's maybe the most
The Roger
impressive
Ebert of our
I think
generation,
maybe. I think he
Josh.
might just be.
We'll get into the reasons why that's not true as
I
we go
love
on with
21-year-old AJ. He's in Ireland.
this. He's very
I mean,
drunk.
He's
you know what's-
drinking a lot, and he's like, you know, this may surprise you, but I read the New York
I
Times.
know.
What's so
Harder
funny
to get back then
is
is
that
what I'll say.
at the same time that you were in Ireland watching Nostalgia Critic, I think that I was in the UK watching Moral Oral.
Wow. You had a much better education than I did.
And you were hanging out with Sleazy Michael.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Josh met a guy named Sleazy Michael. He was really nice.
Yeah. He was a sex worker who specialized in helping out people with disabilities.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not so sleazy at all.
No.
No,
That's
but
a very wholesome
well,
Michael.
I mean, he was
sleazy.
He got nude every time.
Yeah, no, I remember you and Anne coming back from London, and you both were showing me, you know, ancient now cell phone videos of Sleazy Michael completely naked dancing at whatever gay club he dragged you to.
Yeah, I think we were at like the Royal Vauxhall Tavern or something like that. But a very, very sweet guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loved poppers.
Well, once you pop. So the year is 2007, and Doug Walker is working as a janitor. He had graduated a few years earlier from Northern Illinois University, where
Go
he
Huskies.
majored in mass communications, don't you get me wrong, with a minor in visual art.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. He was also an editor and a cartoonist for the school paper, and his cartoons are actually pretty well drawn. I think he is not a terrible cartoonist.
Wait, so when drawings show up on these videos, are those all his?
They're all his.
Like the one of him crying in bed because he can't conceive a child?
I believe is his.
Okay.
Yes.
I credit where credit is due. The guy can draw.
Yeah.
He really can.
Because and in The Wall, of course, there are those little sequences where they're referencing the animation. They can't use any moving footage from the movie The Wall, so they're just like these animatics that are really like deliberately crudely drawn.
Yes,
with like a bird that just says ego.
We will
that one was not good.
We will certainly.
Oh, I think it was
that.
great. It's very expressive.
The cloud that
I mean
says
that
my
unironically.
problems.
It's like it's just like it's the sloppiness of it is so pure.
Yes,
It is charming in its way.
There is something
There's
very
something
charming,
about janitors in Chicago. They end up being very prolific artists. We've got Doug Walker.
Yes.
We've got Henry Darger.
So around this time, three other gentlemen, Mike Mashad, Mike Ellis, and Bhargav Dronamaju, who was actually Doug Walker's college roommate.
Okay.
Were all working at Circuit City and were all laid off at the same time because the recession hit.
Right, and Circuit City closed forever.
So many possible.
Hey there, you are listening to a preview of a premium episode of The Worst of All Possible Worlds. If you'd like to listen to the rest of this, head on over to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/worstofall. And you can listen to not only the rest of this episode, but our entire backlog of premium episodes, bonus episodes, and if you subscribe at the $10 tier, you will get an extra episode of the podcast every single month. Again, that is patreon.com/worstofall. Hope to see you there.